So good morning everyone, my name's Tony Connolly, I'm the Dean of the ANU College of Law, and before I start let me firstly acknowledge that we meet on Indigenous land and I pay my tribute to the traditional owners of that land and my respects to their elders past and present. So it's my pleasure, great pleasure it is, to welcome you, our commencing class of 2023, to this great law school, where over the next few years you'll be educated and empowered, very importantly, to pursue the next big phase of your life after this, whatever that may be. The next few years here are going to be one of the most exciting times of your life, in which you're going to be challenged in ways you've never been challenged before, and in which you're going to discover things about yourself that you were not aware of. Your limits, perhaps, but also, and more importantly, your amazing abilities and your potential to do great things in the world. You're all immensely fortunate to be given this opportunity, and I urge you not to waste a single day of it. The possibilities that are going to be available to you, each of you at the end of your law studies, are many. For example, to pursue a satisfying and an impactful career, whether that's in law, in government, in the corporate sector, in international agencies and bodies, in grassroots community organisations or in NGOs. Great careers are out there for you. But it's also possible to make a real difference in the world at large with a law degree from here, both in the world at large and also in your local community, addressing its most important challenges and problems. And you're the next generation of problem solvers for this world. Okay, so take that responsibility very seriously. Now, your ability to take up all of these possibilities that await you will depend ultimately, of course, on how hard you study here over the next few years, how much you're willing to open yourself to transformation, to step outside your comfort zone and to take risks in your learning and your development. Okay, really important. You don't need to be a genius to do well here. You just need to be committed to working regularly and steadily, keeping up to speed with the content, your lectures, your assessment week by week, staying informed about what's expected of you, planning and managing your time well, and really importantly, speaking up if you need assistance with something. Okay, don't suffer in silence. Basically, it's just a matter of staying on top of things. And of course, none of this is incompatible with having a great time as a university student. Okay, that's important too. It's just a matter of getting the balance right. Now, the foundation for doing well here, for doing all of these things I've just mentioned, is to not lose faith in yourself over the next few years. Not just educational issues that might confront you, but also personal issues, existential issues you might be facing. The fact that you're here today and ready to go into a law degree that we offer is testimony to your abilities already. Okay, so stay true to yourself over the next few years. And if you need help, whether it's on, as I said, educational matters, or whether it's personal challenges you're facing or financial challenges, reach out to others, please, for support and guidance. Not just your family and your friends, but also for your educational difficulties, your teachers, and our college's student support staff. And for the other challenges you might face in the years ahead, the ANU has many counselling and support services available to you. So don't forget that, please. But now, today, enjoy the start of it all. You're a law student at one of the world's greatest universities, and today your future looks really good. Thank you.
Well, good morning everybody, and let me add my welcome to the Deans and also acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands on which we meet this morning and of course on which you will study over the next 3 or 5 years, depending upon which program you are in. As the Dean mentioned, I'm Wayne Morgan and I'm the Associate Dean Education for the college, which means I have overall responsibility for the programs in which you will be studying. And I want to tell you a little bit this morning about some of the opportunities that you will have as you study in your LLB or JD program, before then handing over to some of your first year teachers to tell you a little bit more about your immediate future in terms of the courses that you will study. So we often use as a bit of a slogan here, if you want to change the world, study law. And Tony, as Dean, has already spoken to this somewhat. But this is a slogan that I genuinely believe. It is also something that is reflected in the remarkable achievements of our graduates. Some of those achievements are at the local level, going into local practice, whether that be in a small country town or indeed in one of the global law firms in Sydney or in Melbourne. Some of that is at a national level. Our graduates end up as judges all around the country, or indeed judges of the High Court. Or whether it ends up as, public servants here in Australia, or dare I say it, politicians, or indeed the international civil service. Because of our history of expertise, particularly in international and public law, a high number of our graduates end up working for places like the UN, the World Bank, other international organisations, or indeed international NGOs who do remarkable things on a global basis. Indeed, some of our graduates have started their own NGOs who have done amazing humanitarian work in war-torn countries, for example, recently within the Middle East. So yes, the world is literally your oyster. But, and again, as the Dean has sort of already mentioned, to achieve these remarkable things, you do have to do a bit of work for the next 5 years. And so I encourage you to, really apply yourselves to your studies, because of course that's the way you will get most out of it. A law degree is rigorous, and you don't have perhaps the same flexibility as you have in some other undergraduate degrees, and if you're in a double degree, you'll notice that in terms of the other degree that you might be studying. You can expect a higher workload, and you can expect that more is expected of you in terms of assessment. And this is particularly if you're an LLB student, because of course the LLB degree is an embedded honours degree. And therefore, in terms of your skills of research and writing, you will notice the development of those over the next few years, and you will become people who have the skills to engage in, the most important research that gets done in the country. So work hard, don't cut corners, and you will excel, and you will learn the skills to achieve whatever those goals you may have post-law school. Now, as I said, a couple of words about the opportunities if you are studying in our LLB or our JD program. First of all, of course, you will be learning from world-leading experts, both here in the faculty and the visitors that we frequently have from around the world. We are one of the top law schools globally. We punch way above our weight, and you're probably aware already of our rankings. Of course, a large part of the degree is a compulsory courses, and that is because these degrees are professionally accredited and lead to legal practice. So unfortunately you've got no choice. There's a lot of legal knowledge you need to acquire. But apart from those, and within the elective program and also extracurricular activities, there are amazing things that you can do. So first of all, within the elective programs, you have opportunities to complete specialisations and to have that listed in your degree. And there's a whole range of areas in which you can specialise, whether that be international law, public law, corporate and commercial law, or indeed in law reform and social justice, which we like to think we have particular expertise at here in the faculty. There are also extensive work integrated learning opportunities that you will have later on in your degrees. So internships that you can complete, again here domestically or indeed internationally. We also run a range of clinics where you get to be placed within community legal services here in Canberra or elsewhere, helping various communities who may not have had the same advantages that you have had. Those include, for example, places like the Environmental Defenders Office, Indigenous Legal Services, as well as Canberra Community Legal Services. And one of the legal services we began ourselves with the local legal aid departments here in Canberra, the Youth Law Clinic. So, yeah, there are a lot of opportunities that even during your degree, you can help others and achieve things with your legal knowledge. We also have a whole range of international opportunities that you'll be able to engage with. Exchange programs where you'll be able to go overseas and study at other law schools. International experiences within our own courses where we take students overseas. For example, our Law and Development Clinic, which annually takes a group of students to a Southeast Asian country to assist in legal development and to help law students in those countries to achieve their own goals. We, of course, over the last few years with COVID, haven't been able to engage in a lot of these international activities, so we're really looking forward to getting them back off the ground and achieving them with you. If you're in the JD program, you also have the opportunity, if you excel in your studies here, to go to Oxford to complete your degree by at the same time studying for the BCL, the Bachelor of Civil Laws, which of course is one of the most prestigious law degrees globally speaking. So remember these international opportunities and make use of them. We also have internships with places like the World Bank, the Permanent Court of Arbitration in The Hague. Indeed, we're the only law school in Australia that sends an intern to the International Court of Justice in The Hague. So all of these opportunities are potentially before you. And of course, apart from all of that within your degree, there are a range of things extracurricular that you can engage in. We have a very active Law Student Society, which you'll all be able to become a member of. And the Law Student Society, of course, runs a range of both social events, but also events aimed at helping you with your future careers, and also competitions that help you to hone your skills, such as mooting competitions, negotiation competitions, etc. The ANU, as the national university, also, of course, has a lot of important guests that come, both who have legal expertise or indeed in the broader university. You might have seen just yesterday a member of the Royal Family of Europe here participating in a conference. And of course, we often have heads of government from overseas, ambassadors, officials from the United Nations, etc., who come to give guest lectures or participate in seminars, and these are all opportunities that you will be able to participate in. And I also wanted to mention, just finally, the Law Reform and Social Justice program which we have. This program is an extracurricular program in which students themselves decide what projects of current relevance to Australia they might like to participate in and make a difference. So these might include things, for example, like the current plans for The Voice, or indeed climate action. We've had groups of students who have produced very influential submissions that have affected parliamentary inquiries, etc. They also sometimes involve helping individual plaintiffs. Just recently, I, with a group of students, helped a person with a vilification claim who couldn't afford legal representation before one of the local ACT tribunals. So all of these things are the sorts of things that you can participate in as part of the Law Reform and Social Justice program. And I wanted to sort of finish on that point. You have great opportunities here, and of course you all already have great skills. But with all of that comes responsibility. So, remember the requirement that you have as an individual to give back to the society from which you come. In terms of where you find out more about all of this, our website is a good place to start, but also, again, as the Dean mentioned, we have a great student services team. Nicole is the manager sitting over there. So the student office on the other side of the law school, the front counter is always manned during the week, has people there to give you advice. So you can always go there. You can also make an appointment with that team. And of course, they're the academics that you'll get to know over the next 5 years. We love speaking to you all, helping you all to achieve your goals. So again, look, welcome to the ANU College of Law. And yeah, we hope that you have a great experience with us over the next 5 years. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Judy Jones, and I'm the convener of Foundations of Australian Law, which is one of the 2 compulsory subjects that LLBs do, and one of the compulsory subjects that JD students do in their first year of their program. And I've been involved with this course for many years, and despite that, it's still very exciting. There's a lot of nervous excitement for staff as well as for students around getting into your first classes, getting you into the rooms and seeing you in the first week of the semester. I have a big teaching team working with me this year who take seminars in the course, but I will be giving just about all of the lectures. The only other person who's lecturing the course is somebody who comes in from the library and talks to you about research skills, but I also attend those lectures and during those classes make comments about how that's relevant to your studies. So as a foundational course, the course that I convene covers legal systems, and these days the plurality of legal systems that exist on the Australian continent, recognising Indigenous legal systems that have persisted and are present here, as well as the dominant common law legal system that we've inherited from England. So the course is about domestic law, about the institutions and the history of those institutions that make law, that impact upon and control and govern our society. So we look at the course divides into 2 halves. The first half is about the common law and case law, and the second half is about legislation and interpreting legislation. You will learn lots of skills in the course that are transferable to all of your courses, and there'll be some direct connections with the course that you're studying alongside my course, which is Tort's course, which Joe Ford's going to talk to you about shortly. Some of the tasks that we do make reference to some of the substantive law in that course. But the key point really for you to remember, and I know there's a lot to remember when you're in first year, in fact there's an overwhelming amount of information for you to remember, is that everything is available, the information is available on the Wattle site. So the go-to place for everything is the Wattle site. If you can't find the information that you need on the Wattle site, then by all means email me, but please check that Wattle site thoroughly, and the class summary, the course summary which has all the assessment details, that's embedded in that site as well. So first point of call, always the Wattle site, and if it's not there, if the information there is incomplete or unclear, please let me know. Another key point is to remember that you need to prepare for your seminars in Foundations of Australian Law, and you need to allow at least 3 or 4 hours prior to the seminar each week to do that preparation in order for you to get the most out of that seminar. If for some reason you don't prepare, still come to the seminar, but you may find the experience less satisfying, less satisfactory and less valuable than you would, less rewarding than you would for if you'd been prepared. So please give some priority to that preparation. Now, rather than me give you more information, I'm actually going to give you a chance to chat with me here now. I'm going to ask you questions about what's involved with this course and just see how much you've absorbed so far. So there are 2 kinds of classes in the course. There's a lecture. Does anyone remember how long that lecture is? Sorry? A bit louder?
It's 1 hour.
1 hour, thank you, yes. Do you know what day it's on? Friday, well done, excellent. Is it compulsory to go? Ooh, that's a tricky one, isn't it? No, yes, the correct answer is yes. Is it recorded? Yes, okay. Do you need to prepare? For the lecture? Nah, just come along to the lecture, okay? That's an incentive to come, right? You don't need to prepare, you just come along. And the next question is, will you attend? Yeah. Oh, look at that, okay. So the other activity are seminars, okay? How long are they? 2 hours. How often are they? When do they start? A bit louder on the first week. They start next week. If you have a seminar scheduled for Monday, it starts next week. Okay, so they start next week. All right. Is attendance compulsory? Yes, that message has got out there. Attendance is compulsory. Can you miss any seminars? 2. 2 is a free pass. Okay. If you have more, so that means that if you have a family event or you have travel plans, or you can miss a seminar, but it's going to be your responsibility as to how you can catch up that material. Okay. What if you're sick though? Can you miss more than 2? Yes. Okay. So you need medical certificates. You need to document all of that. All right. And that we're assisted in monitoring all of that by our inquiries team, which is run by Nicole. Okay. Are these seminars recorded? No, never. Absolutely never. And will you attend? Yes. Okay. All right. Good. So your books, there's 2 that I would like you to get. This is Laying Down the Law, which is a textbook that was devised at this law school for our course and has now been adopted by, it's the most adopted book by other law schools in Australia. It's a really foundational, excellent textbook with lots of detail, which will guide you through about how much detail you need from it, but it's a great resource overall. So that's Robin Craik and others, Laying Down the Law. It doesn't matter whether you get whether you get an electronic copy or you get a hard copy. I always work with hard copy, but it's going to be your preference. So you absolutely must have that, and you must have the most recent edition. It is very confusing to have references to other editions that have different page numbers, and also it's updated for every edition as well. The other thing that I would really encourage you to get for ease, to make your life easy, is actually to buy an AGLC, which is this little blue book, which is about the unique citation system for law. Okay, now lots of students use the online version, but it is so much easier to use the paper version. Okay, when you come to do your first assignment, which is actually in the end of week 3. You'll need to use this for citing cases, and it's just, I can't emphasise enough, it's just so much easier to use in hard copy. So it's relatively inexpensive. So if you can get your hands on a 4th edition, then I would recommend that you do so. But you'll use it throughout your entire law degree in every course and every subject. Okay, so you can use the online version, and it is freely available. It's just clunky, and I don't really recommend it other than if you have no other option. So does anyone have any questions for me, any information that's not clear? Yeah.
Those books that you mentioned, are they listed on Wattle as well? Like if we don't remember the names of them?
Yeah, it's all available on Wattle and in the class summary.
In the class summary, and it's also on Course Search, which we're going to give you a bit of a show and tell once our academic staff have finished speaking. Yeah.
So, and on my Wattle site, there's a checklist of things to do as a first-year student, which I would really, really like you to look at, because courses don't normally give you a checklist, but because you've got so much information and so much to do, I'd really like you to work through that checklist, get everything sorted and put away that's on that checklist, and then you'll find that you're really well set up to succeed in the semester. Yeah.
So where did you say we can access that checklist?
It's on the Wattle site for the course. So Laws 1201 or Laws 6101 if you're a JD student. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Everyone, I'm Joe Ford. I acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land. So what to expect in semester 1 in torts? Well, I've produced a welcome video, so hopefully you've been able to have a look at that, or you will. So I can be a bit smug and speak a bit more broadly. So I'll be convening the course, but for the first 3 weeks you'll actually be with my colleague Professor Greg Weeks, and then with me for the last weeks from 4 to 12. What to expect? In the welcome video I talked about, annoyingly, about 3 Ps. And really I think if you follow those 3 Ps, you can expect a very satisfying and doable semester. The 3 Ps were to prepare, both for lectures and tutorials, to participate, and PAL, our peer-assisted learning scheme, which pairs you up with later year students. There are other Ps, I think, in addition to prepare, participate, and PAL, that I could talk about, but they'd be obvious to you. Be persistent. Pace yourself. One of the issues with learning, especially where you have recorded lectures, you think, oh, there's all this material online, I'll get to it. You know it's there, you know it's online. But the semester will very quickly get away from you if you do that. So just work consistently. You can still have fun consistently, and work consistently. So that's another P, pace yourself. Pair up. Law schools, the impression is that it's competitive and individualistic, but there's no reason within all the rules of plagiarism and other things why you can't work together on tutorial problems or other problems in groups, in small groups. Pose questions is another P. And finally, another P I'd use is be picky. What do I mean by picky? Or be prepared to pass over things. There's lots of P's going on, right? What I mean by that in my course is, you'll see we have a very thick textbook. There are any number of judgments on the law of torts that you could look into. But in this course, and what I say in the video, is to learn to trust that we've sort of filtered out all the noise, and we're getting a very selective set of cases through which to study the core principles of the law of torts. And what I mean by be picky or be prepared to pass over things is, don't feel you have to go out there and read everything that's ever been written on the law of torts. If you engage deeply with the narrow selected group of materials and cases, that's more than enough to succeed in an introductory course in torts. And don't worry about all that other information that might be out there. You'll see when you get the casebook, if you don't already have it, that the listed cases we have in our readings are only a fraction of the cases in that book. But that's okay. I prefer you engage deeply with the cases we actually prescribe than that you read, set yourself afloat on a vast sea of information throughout the semester. There's another P that Wayne mentioned that I'll just reinforce, I guess, and that is privilege. I don't need to stand here to remind you how many people probably wanted to study law at ANU, and throughout the first semester, that's what I'd encourage you to remember and reflect on. So, since we're talking in threes, the 3 Ps, first one, prepare, participate, and take up the PAL system. So, prepare to me is in terms of both lectures and tutorials. The more you prepare ahead of particularly the lectures, the more you will get out of them, and you'll see the materials on the Wattle page that helped you to do that. The tutorial system is a key to the learning in this course, both in terms of reinforcing your understanding and preparing you for assessment. And this course is not just about assessment, it's also about learning a core compulsory subject. But you'll find at the end of the semester, as students throughout the last few years have found with torts, that there's no surprises. The exam at the end of semester is just a very long tutorial scenario. So in tutorials, what we're doing is we're taking the knowledge, the structures, the frameworks of understanding that we talk about in lectures and applying them to factual scenarios that we haven't encountered before. And that helps us in a number of ways. So the other thing I'd say in terms of what to expect about semester 1 is that I see the torts course, because it's a first year course, as actually playing 3 functions. The first one is the obvious function, the actual content, substantive content of the law of torts. Tort comes from tortius, twisted, from the Latin for twisted. We're just talking about civil wrongs. Every society needs some sort of system to allocate responsibility for the risk of injury and loss, and to afford remedy where there's been some wrongful injury or loss in society, or wrongful interference with protected interests. So obviously the first thing the law of torts does is tries to impart in an introductory fashion understanding of the actual content of the law of torts. But it has two other functions, this course, that I take quite seriously. The second one is just an introduction, along with Judy's course, to the strange creature that is the common law system. The way in which, over centuries, judges, in dealing with and trying to offer remedies in very particular cases for particular claimants, have expounded principles of more general application that then become part of the body of our law. So that's another purpose of the torts law course, in addition to the actual content of torts, which is to try and get our head around what is this idea of judge-made law and how does it relate to law coming from our elected representatives up on the hill in Parliament there. And then the third thing the course tries to do, and Judy referred to this too, is to try and begin to build some of the core skills that we think you leave law school with at the end of the day. What are some of those skills? Learning to reason by analogy, learning to apply insights and frameworks from one factual scenario to a completely different factual scenario. Learning to deal with large amounts of information and not be overwhelmed by them, and being able to trace a golden thread through something. So those are some of the skills that we begin through tutorials and through preparing for tutorials and through the lectures to try to begin to impart. So that's what you can expect, I hope, of semester one. For myself, just a brief introduction. I'm from Zimbabwe. I studied my law degree in South Africa and then in Cambridge in the UK, and then I did my PhD here at ANU. So I studied torts in a different legal system, a Roman Dutch legal system, where it was called delict, but the same thing and the same principles. And I remember, in terms of what to expect from semester one, I remember being struck that in my first semester, and maybe this will happen to you, something happened to me. I started to see the world differently through studying torts, delict. Every time I got a ticket to enter a cinema or a joyride, I turned the ticket over and read the back, the disclaimer of liability. If you're injured on this ride, and I'd read it closely, I'd go, oh, really? But I saw things differently, and everywhere around me I started to see risk of injury, risk of loss, risk of harm, and seeing the world in a very different way. And if that happens through your tort semester, then perhaps we've succeeded in some ways. I always wanted to be an engineer. I'm not clever enough to be an engineer, and I put engineers and engineering on a bit of a pedestal. But what I came to see through the study of law is that, in a sense, lawyers are engineers of a sort, social engineers. Engineers can build physical things that we can see, bridges and buildings and things we can't see, software. But lawyers do that too, right? We build infrastructure, invisible infrastructure, the laws and the legal systems through which we regulate complex interactions in a networked, industrialized society. So in that sense, constitutions are a form of engineering. They engineer the relationships between state and federal governments, or between people and their government. Contracts regulate relationships. They're structures that regulate relationships between parties, sometimes incredibly complex commercial relationships and other things. So when you walk around campus, there's not as much construction as there used to be on campus, but a few years ago there were cranes everywhere on campus and construction. And an engineering student would look around and see a crane sticking out of the ground, and an engineering student would say, how does that stay up? But a tort student would look at that and say, what happens if it falls down? So hopefully you will start to see the world in a different way through the prism of this course. So you'll go on to study other courses, constitutions, contracts, and torts, but the greatest of these is torts.
We've got a couple more of our members in the back. You might have met them in the foyer. We're going to give you insight on how to navigate the university side of administration. So things like enrolment, we'll cover all those bases. You might have heard some of the academics talk about Wattle, core search, class summaries. We're going to show you what they actually are on our websites. So, a disclaimer before we begin. This presentation relies on visual aids, pictures, and looking at websites. If you have any difficulty accessing this information, like by viewing on the presentation, please come to us after the presentation, and our team is more than happy to sit down with you and personalise this presentation if need be. So, A little bit about who we are. I mentioned we're from the education and support team, but what do we actually do? Well, as you can see by all these dot points, we do quite a lot. So we do your enrolments, we help you guide what courses you need to do to complete your degree. We also help with student experiences like clinics, internships, and if you wanted to go for a year abroad, that's what we do too. On the other side, we can assist with assessment information. So for example, if you don't have time or you can't finish your assessment because you're sick, you can always come to us. You should see your student support team as the first port of call. There are no silly, obvious or dumb questions. Always come to us if you're not sure about something. And like the Dean mentioned, you should never suffer in silence. So I'm going to begin first with talking about our agenda today. So we're going to speak shortly on study plans, how to find courses, class summaries and Waddle, key enrolment dates, assessment extensions and late submissions and penalties, and then we'll finish up on support options at the ANU College of Law. We don't have enough time to take questions during this presentation, so you'll be able to ask all your questions at the end and go into the law foyer where you see our Q&A desks, and our lovely staff will be happy to attend you there.
There'll be 15 people out there waiting for you.
Yes, so please come talk to us. We're very bored today, so we need your entertainment. All right, so I guess everyone kind of knows what courses they're supposed to do this semester, more or less. Everyone's enrolled. So one thing to do when you start your degree, whether it be Bachelor of Law honours, double degree or single degree, or your Juris Doctor degree, is to check out your study plan. So you're able to find your study plan on the Programs and Courses website. For example, just give me a little nod with the hand or the head if you recognise this website. Can everyone see this website? Show of hands, who's seen this website? Oh, brilliant, perfect. So, I don't want to teach you how to suck eggs, but at the end of this page, you'll see a little bit of a study plan of what courses you need to enrol in for your first semester and your second semester. Your first 2 years of your law degree will be prescribed. There are compulsory courses you must enrol in. You can also find a PDF copy of this study plan on our Welcome to ANU Law page. Has anyone had a chance to look at this page before? Yeah, oh, not too many hands. All right, so just to give you a heads up, you can find this page on our ANU College of Law website, clicking on to current students. Oh, we won't do that. So when you click onto current students, look for your degree, click on new student, and then you can find your study plan in a PDF form. As our ADE mentioned, we offer student appointments, so you can always check back in with us if you want to just make sure you're on the right path. In a double degree especially, you can get lost. There are lots of courses you need to complete. It can be overwhelming which ones you should do first, so you can always come to us for that advice. All right, so that's the study plan. Let's say you've done your study plan, you know what you have to enrol in. Everyone probably has watched the videos by Student Central about how to enrol in ISIS and how to do timetabling. I won't cover that information today, but there are great resources on the Central student page, and you can always come to our team later to ask us specific questions about timetabling. So for your first year, you'll know what courses you have to enrol, and then usually by your third year, you realise you have to do law electives. Does everyone know what law electives are or have an idea? Yeah, kind of. So law electives are basically your chance to further explore your law knowledge where you're interested in. So for example, international law, that's your focus. You can look at those law electives to do. What our team has designed is a website where you can filter through law-specific courses. So you're probably familiar with Programs and Courses to find your regular courses, but if you want something just for your law, you can use our course search here. We've designed this to be super easy to use. You can filter by year, study session, for example, semester 1. You can even filter by study mode, which means whether it's on campus or if it's online. It should be noted, however, all your compulsories will be in person. You're expected to show up and you're expected to participate in the tutorials. Your law electives, however, in your later years, you might have some online options, which you can do there. So you can always use this course search to double check what's being offered and when it's being offered. This is our most reliable source of when courses are being offered. So if you go on Programs and Courses and something looks iffy, go to this next. your law course search. That will tell you because we regularly update these things. All right, so
Before you move away from
yeah, go ahead.
Can you just expand on the more information under FOUL?
Under FOUL. Oh yes, so for each course underneath on our law course search, which is different to programs and courses, we put the start dates of the course type, and then under more information, we put about the regular reading, so what textbooks you need, and any other important information you might need from the conveners about this course.
Yeah, so we try and publish this one 6 to 8 weeks out, whereas your class summary, it'll be 2 weeks. So what we found for our law students, they used to write to us whinging, Nicole, it's so bloody hard, our textbooks only get released 2 weeks before, we can't buy them.
No, it doesn't do that.
So this one is
don't click on it.
Bible, because we will update this as soon as we know the text, and it'll be at least 8 weeks before the course start date. So that's really important to remember, because some of the textbooks in your later year courses get a bit trickier to find. So yeah, it's always a good idea. There you go. I think they might be up there now. There is no prescribed textbook for that one. But yeah, when there is a textbook, it will certainly come up with hopefully what Judy's just told us. The internet's being exploded there, so he's trying to show you there.
No, we won't.
Trust me, underneath the textbook for FOUL, it will say exactly the text that Judy just showed you. So
there it is.
it will be there for you, and you'll get that a lot quicker than the class summary.
It doesn't say.
Because unfortunately, the class summary in the Waddle site's 2 weeks before the course start date. So this becomes a great resource, and it's also under current students. And the thing with PNC, we call it PNC, but programs and courses, as you progress in your degree, you've got to be really careful, because that front page is always at the current year. So at the moment it will say 2023, and they are your program orders. But just as a measure, go back and check 2018. So you can change the year up the top, and you will see that the 2018 students have a different degree program than you do. So it's really important as you progress through your degree, because say in 2026, we might introduce a new compulsory course. And then all of you are going to write to me, I promise you. I'm going to get really angry and say, remember that day I told you? But every one of you will write to me saying, Nicole, do I have to do that compulsory course? The answer is no. Your program orders are what appear on 2023. So that's another little tip as you go through, just to make sure P&C or programs and courses is always set at the year you commence your degree. You right, Saskia?
Yeah, all right. So we're going to try to keep going through this.
We'll keep plodding.
Yeah. So, yeah, enrolled in your courses. I think Judith mentioned that there's a class summary. Has anyone had a chance to find a class summary or looked before? Yeah. Yep, excellent. So with the class summary, basically you can find it on the course page on programs and courses, on the class tab, and then make sure that you click the right year and the right semester. On the class summary, as Judith mentioned, it basically covers a brief overview of what's involved, so you can get a head start about the class schedule, what seminars and lectures will be put on, about your assessment dates, and also details about those assessment tasks, as well as information about required readings and textbooks you may need for the course. So Judith definitely mentioned that whenever you have a question for her, academic base, always look at the Waddle site first, and then the class summary if it's not there as well. And then you can ask her. But if you're not sure, you can ask us first, and then you can ask her. So, has everyone had a chance to look at Waddle as well? Yep. With Waddle, do you recognise that you enroll in a class and then boop, it appears on your Waddle page? Yeah. So whenever you enroll in a class on ISIS, the system will then allow you access to that course page on Waddle. Waddle, you do have to log in separately with your student ID and password, and think of Waddle as the hub for your course. So you're attending your classes in person, Waddle will basically tell you everything. It will include information about where your lectures and seminars will be held, as well as if there are changes to those times, the convener will announce that on Waddle. It's also a place where you can engage with your classmates through the forums or posting sites. So really, Waddle is really crucial for you to use every day just to keep up with the course content for your classes. If you miss a lecture, you can always go to Waddle to see the recording there as well. It's also the place where you upload your assessments. I won't have time to show you Waddle today, but just at the end of this session, go have a bit of explore, just log in, see what you can find. And if you have any questions or you can't access it, come to us and we'll assist you before week 1. All right, I'm now going to move on and let my colleague Tim explain some more other things for you to know.
That's right. Just quickly before I get stuck into my slides, as Saskia mentioned about the Waddle program, if you're finding it once you enrol in the IS system, that you haven't got access. It can take up to 72 hours to come through, so don't be alarmed. If you get past the 72 hours, 3 days, and you can't see any access in Wattle, shoot us an email to inquiries.law@anu.edu.au and we'll support you and help you out, okay? Because it does happen sometimes, but usually you have access within that 72-hour period from enrolment, okay? Okay, does everybody know what a census date is? Show of hands. Okay. Most of them, that's right. Really important you know that, guys. So it is, in essence, it's the last day, which for semester 1 is March 31st, to drop your course without being liable for full tuition and associated fees for that course. Okay, so be very careful. Okay, 31st of March is the census date for semester 1, and for semester 2, does anybody know what the census date is? End of October. Now, we'll get through because we do have a really interactive university calendar that I recommend that you look at as well, and it will have all the key dates in there to keep you on track. So, enrolments for semester 1, and I think most of you put your hands up and said you have enrolled in your first semester courses. That's fantastic, that's great. We do have a last day to enrol for semester courses and ISAs, which is the start of week 2, the 27th of February. There is a deadline after that, which is Sunday the 5th of March, but this is more in exceptional circumstances for enrolment, where you will need to send us an enrolment change form. This is available on the ANU website. It's an enrolment change form. That's super worst case scenario, but if you enrol prior to the start of week 2, that is fine. As we mentioned, census dates up there as well. We do have individual census date for non-sessional based courses. So they're the courses that run outside of semester, folks. So summer, autumn, winter and spring sessions. Those census dates vary because we're not talking 12-week courses, which is your stock standard semester-based courses. These census dates will be on your programs and courses page. You go to the programs and courses page for the relevant course if it's a summer, winter, autumn or spring course. Click on the class tab. Follow down, it would see the start date, the end date, the enrolment date, the census date will be embedded in there. That's really important to pay attention to.
Yep. Become relevant to you till a bit
later. Yep.
So by the time you get to 3rd year, you might say, I want to bulk up my electives. I'm going to do intellectual property in summer, and that's when you'll see these different census dates. So it's a bit of a trap when you get into elective land.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So, yeah, something to think of down the track, but just be aware, it's not a stock standard census date when you start getting into electives down the track, particularly in the summer, autumn, winter and spring sessions. Very important thing to note on the bottom here is the last day to withdraw from the semester course without a failure, okay? So let's say hypothetically you dropped FAL, Foundations of Australian Law, on the 3rd of May. Yes, you can drop it. You will have a WD withdrawal failure against that course. You won't fail the course, but you'll be liable for full tuition fees. Okay, just remember that, yep. Just remember, again, if you drop the course prior to census date, 31st of March, semester 1, the course disappears off your transcript. Yep, whereas the bottom one, be very careful. Yep, it stays. And we get asked this quite a bit, as Nicole knows, can I remove the WD from my course? No, it's there, it's embedded. I won't bring up, because I know there's some glitches before, and I'm a bit conscious that it might glitch again. There is a link, University Calendar is what you can type in, ANU University Calendar. It does reiterate these particular dates and also other information, like when grades are released.
Yep. When your exams are held.
Exams, yep. It's really useful, guys. Have a look at it. And if ever in doubt, come and see us, drop us a line. Yeah, email us. We're here to help and support you. Okay, just conscious of the time because we have to wrap up at 10:30, so let's just hammer through. I want to talk about, we do have many, we call them cognito forms, very interactive forms to help you throughout your studies. There is a new one that I just want to talk to you quickly about, which is called, there it is there. This Assessment Extension and Deferment Options Cognito form, which is on our website. You can go to that previous slide that you saw with Saskia, you know, the Welcome to ANU College of Law students, LLB JD. It's embedded in there. This pretty much is, look, We know things can get in the way of studying, throughout life. There's certain things pop up, personal circumstances, work-life balance, etc. But we do offer a variety of reasonable adjustments with this particular form. So from assessment extensions to special consideration and deferred examination options to help you guys succeed with your studies. However, finding what's available to you at any given time and to suit your individual circumstances, look, it can be difficult. We understand that, okay? So these are the tools that we can help you and assist accordingly. I'm just going to go through it quickly with you, but in your own time, I'd recommend you have a look at this and probably other forms on our website as well, guys. That will really help you throughout your studies and support.
Yeah, so if you click on the current students on the ANU College of Law website and then click on LLB or JD, it'll all come up. And also there's a forms, policies and procedures page. So yeah, it's all there for you and it's all pretty easy to navigate. There are 3 options. The first one is a coursework extension. So anytime you're sick, you're not well, you're not feeling like you can get there, you can apply for an extension for most tasks. The class summary will tell you very clearly, this task cannot have an extension. So some of them, you're just going to have to suck it up. Sick or not, they're usually, in fact, they're always little weightings. The ones that say too bad, so sad, are always going to be worth 5%, 10%. They're small weightings. Okay, and there's a really good reason why they can't be deferred. Okay, so it might be that the convener has the lecture the next day planned around this little quick 10-minute quiz. So that will be the case where we'll say no extensions, but it's clear in summary. I suggest you go through Fowler and Tort and all your courses for the other half of your degree too, and you mark them up now, so that you're really aware, I cannot apply for an extension for that one, but I can for this one. So if I'm unwell, I'm going to apply on that one and get the extension for this one. Okay, so it's all about planning what you can do ahead of time, because there is sure as hell somewhere in your degree you're going to need extensions. Okay, so that's the first one. So it's coursework extension. For the ANU College of Law, you do not write to your convener. In fact, I recommend here and now, and you can quote me to any of your conveners, don't write to them about anything, okay? First point of call is inquiries.law, all right? And if it is a convener question, we will send you there. Okay, but in all seriousness, obviously if it's about the course content, if it's about the law, we can't help you. But if it's about anything else, they're going to send you to us anyway, and you're wasting your own time and you're wasting their time clogging up their email boxes. These are really busy people. They'll take a week to get back to you anyway. We will answer you in 24 hours. It is much more efficient. And if it is, if I do feel it is, I'll send it to Judy. But guess what? An email coming from me to Judy to get help for you is going to get answered much quicker anyway. Okay, so that is my big tip. So if you do the extension, there's an extension web form. So again, you can just Google ANU College of Law extensions. It'll come up. Otherwise, it's in the current students' forms process.
Yep.
Okay, that's how you get an extension. Number 2, anything that is called an exam or an examination is exactly that. Okay, if it has those words in your class summary, it is a formal university exam. If you cannot sit it on the day, you need to apply it through the university process, which is actually in ISIS as a deferred exam. If your class summary calls it a test, it is not an exam. If it's a test, you apply for an extension, like normal. Okay, so don't get confused. And we've explicitly called them tests or take-homes or some other form of convener magic, whatever they want to say, but we do not allow them to use the word exam or examination unless it really is one. All right, so that's a deferred exam. The third type of assistance you can get is what we call special consideration. Now this one's about to change, so you're only going to have it for one semester, so take advantage of it, is my advice. So for special consideration, it happens when something big has happened in your life. So you've had a horrible shit time and 3 or 4 months worth of it. It's not for a sore finger, that's an extension. Yeah, it's not even for a sore throat, it's not even for tonsillitis. It's if you got glandular fever, if your parent, God forbid, got diagnosed with a terrible illness and you were really affected. So it's something that affects you for a fair length of time. Then you apply for special consideration. In that case, your convener will then say, okay, poor Abby has had a rotten time. I'm going to take this into account when I mark all of her assessment pieces. The problem is with special consideration, there's no transparency, okay? So you will never get an outcome. Your convener will never write to you and say, I've given you 2 extra marks, or you're on a 69, I've decided to bump you up to 70 to give you a distinction. You will never know the outcome. You just have to trust that your convener is going to do the right thing with those forms. Okay, and again, special consideration is through ISIS, same as deferred exams. All right, so that's basically what when it's working beautifully, what that will tell you which option to choose when you get a bit confused.
Lovely.
Sorry, Tim.
Thank you, Nicole. And
So
sorry,
bad.
no, that's okay. It actually started to work just at the end, guys. But please have, and as Nicole said, remember, just to wrap up very quickly on that previous slide, it's the form to assess if you're eligible and to take you to the relevant option to apply for a particular deferred. Just remember, it's the form. It's not the actual application. Okay, it's to assess your eligibility for a particular task. Okay, thanks, Nicole. That's great. Thank you. Just quickly, guys, because we're conscious of time. On our, I'm not going to click on that little hyperlink at the top left. We do have a really interactive support and wellbeing page on our ANU College of Law website. It has all kinds of things to talk about us, education services, mentoring programs. Joe Ford, our Torts convener, alluded to the POWER, which is the acronym for the Peer Assisted Learning Program. We really recommend that you get involved in that. That is for first year, first semester students, and you're mentored with later law year students, to assist any questions you have if something's not right or you have questions about assignments. It's pretty much anything that you want to ask outside of the classroom. Yeah, it's really
you take it up.
Really handy. Yep. Now, 4 options to contact us. Pretty straightforward. We're here for you guys. We're here to support you as best we can. Don't be shy. Come and see us. Does everybody sort of know where we are? Yeah, Building 5, the building straight across here, ground floor. That's one that you can come to the counter.
It's near the cafe and the library.
Counter's open from 10 to 4. We're on the phones from 9 to 5. That's the second option. Third option is make an appointment. We have an interactive scheduling system. You can make an appointment and come and see us. Or email us, please. And as Nicole mentioned, we're very, very responsive, okay? You won't be left in the lurch. You send an email, you get a response. Okay?
And it's inquiries.law. That's all you have to remember.
Perfect. Thank you. And here's a picture of our counter.
Oh, there we go.
That's the wait till Christmas time, then it'll be a different counter. But now, thank you so much, guys. Appreciate your time. Please come outside. We have desks set up with big labels on them, Q&A. Ask questions, anything you're not sure of. That's your opportunity out there in the foyer.
We'll see you all at the welcome event next week.
Thanks very much.
Country, where you will meet all your academic staff.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Well, welcome aboard. That's great. We've got a really good variety. I'm really pleased tonight to see you all. And I guess I'm just going to reiterate up front. Tim did introduce himself, but Tim has another role, and that is he takes care of my international students or else, So if you ever need help, you just need to email inquiries.law, and it will be probably Tim who picks up your email to assist you, because you do have some different, well, I don't like using the word rules, but at the end of the day, they are rules. And so it's really important that we get that clear. And just so I can be clear too, I know I've got some exchange students here. So for the purposes of some of this, the visa regulations are slightly different for exchange students, So I just wanted to make that clear as well, but it doesn't really matter in terms of the information. So we're going to talk about your student visas and what that means while you're studying in Australia. Okay, so basically you have to have an ECOE, and you all do, or you wouldn't be here while you're in Australia, and that has to be current. So basically we support that, we produce that for you, and that's how you got your visa to come here in the first place. And we can extend your ECOE as you go on, but we need to have good reasons. So it's not like it's a definitive timeline, but the reasons can't be just, I'm in Australia having way too much fun, I've decided it's a party visa, not a study visa. So not good enough. It has to have a medical reason, or perhaps family reasons at home. There's always ways that we can help to extend your time if you need it. Okay, now in accordance with, sorry, one back, Tim. That's all right, we went flick through there. According to Australian legislation, we can only extend if there's a compassionate reason, as we said. Reducing your study load is also a problem, and this applies whether you're on exchange as well, because at the end of the day, you have signed up to do a certain program or a year abroad or 6 months abroad, and we really can't reduce that or extend it unless there are special circumstances. So again, Tim will be your contact in at the college if you need to do that, and we do reduce study loads probably more than we extend them, because sometimes a full course load is too much. Sometimes it just all gets overwhelming. You're trying to battle with a different culture. You're trying to find accommodation. Sometimes it's just all too much, and we can help. Okay? Your visa. So I guess basically there are a few conditions that you have to apply to with your visa, and these are on the next slide. So your study load, as we said, you are expected to keep a full-time load. At ANU, that is 24 units, and generally that's 4 courses. All right, so it means you have to be in 4 courses unless you're in the Juris Doctor. If you're in the JD, you only have to do 3 courses for your first semester. Okay, and that is considered a full-time load. We have approval from the Australian the Australian government to do that. So there is no problem, and you will be maintaining a full-time load. Reducing your study load obviously means it's going to take longer, so that's why we say, you know, we have to extend that, and it is a problem with your visa, which is why we have to get that supported. We can never extend your study time with us unless we have supporting documentation. So if you are in trouble, I urge you to seek help and seek it regularly, okay? We have an ANU medical centre, we have an ANU counselling service, we have all of that stuff on campus that you can access, and you must access it early and often, because without documentation, the Australian government are going to go deny, okay? And you will not be allowed to finish your program. I can't stress that enough. As much as we trust you and believe in you, that documentation has to be there. Online learning. This is probably more of an issue for our master's students, to be honest, because our undergrads and our JDs have enough on campus to cover this. For our master's students, you will see that a lot of our courses are delivered online. That's cool. You can do 33 1/3%. Can you believe it? It's 1/3 of your program you can do online. So that means basically 1 to 2 courses per semester. We say 1 to be safe, but there are times maybe towards the end of your degree when you say, Tim, I'm desperate to do business with Joe Ford. I really want to do that course, but I've already got this online one, you know, and if you've only done 1 all the way through, we'll have a bit of fat to play with at the end. Okay? The next one is you must notify us at inquiries.law if you change address and your new address. The other way to do it is a bit quicker, and it's easier for you, is to do it through ISIS. So you can actually do this yourself through ISIS as soon as you have a permanent address, or if you move, just keep your student details up to date. Okay, that's actually, it's a good practice, but it's also a visa requirement. Academic progress, yeah, this one's a bit tricky. If you fail a course, are you going to get deported? The answer is no, okay? The problem is with unsatisfactory progress, it's when it gets to the point where my team will come to me and say, Nicole, I don't know what I'm going to do with Jen anymore. He's just failed 12 courses in a row. We don't know if we can keep going. At that point, I'm going to end. We'll be speaking to you, and we also have a thing called academic progress here at the ANU. So actually, when you fail more than, what is it, Elaine, 4 courses, you come up, 4 or 5, you come up on academic progress anyway. Okay, so you'll be tracked, and the team also does an early intervention. So I will know the minute you fail your first course, and we'll be reaching out saying, what's going on? Do you need more help? Do you need more support? Okay, so I don't ever want you to be frightened by that, because it will come as no surprise. And in my 4.5 years here now, 1 student gone home ever. So it's not doesn't happen often, okay? Paying your tuition fees. This goes for domestic students, this goes for everybody. You must pay those tuition fees on time. So for first semester, it's 10th of March. Second semester is 11th of August. They're this year's dates. They obviously change. They're always that Friday of the second week of March and Friday of the second week of August every year. Just the date changes. It will cancel your enrolment, therefore you are in breach of your student visa conditions, okay? If you're sponsored, that's a bit different, and then you need to go through your sponsor through the finance office. And our sponsored students have a special team here at ANU that look after them. So if you are a sponsored student, you don't have to worry about that either. Maintaining health cover. Yeah, this is a tricky one. You must maintain overseas health cover. The ANU's preferred provider is Allianz, and we have an office on campus on the Diredell Centre. If you need any help with your healthcare, stay behind later and we can help you out with that one. But again, it is really, really important that you keep that current because A, you must, and B, if you get sick, you don't want to be in Australia without healthcare cover. You don't want to be anywhere without healthcare cover, really, but yeah, it's not, because you're not covered by Medicare, it is a problem, so you have to make sure you do have that healthcare up to date. Working, okay, you are not permitted to work until your course has started. If you're already working, that's great, I don't want to know about it, okay? You can work up to 40 hours a fortnight. Now everyone says, well, that's just stupid, why isn't it 20 hours a week? It used to be, but the reason why they say 40 hours a fortnight is that some students bulk up. So say prior to, I don't know, after exams, say your exam week, you've got your exams and you say to your boss, I can't do any hours this week, I've got my exams. Then the boss might say, can you do full-time 36 hours the following week? Under this one, you could say yes. because you've worked none the week before. So you can choose how you like to split it over a 2-week period. Okay, for most students it is 20 hours a week, but sometimes you might say, no, I can't work anything that week, or I'm sick, but I'll let my boss know that I'm feeling better this week, I can do another shift. So that's why the flexibility is there. During university holidays, this is the good news, you can work as much as you like. Knock yourselves out, okay? You can work 100 hours a week if you want to. But during those 12 weeks of semester, or if you're studying an intensive in a session, you cannot work more than that 40 hours a fortnight. As I alluded to before, we have many services at ANU, and I know I spent a lot of time recruiting students from overseas in another job, and I know some of this stuff's pretty difficult to talk about from some of your cultures. But let me assure you, there is nothing we can't assist you with. You've just got to be brave enough to come forward. And if you don't want to talk to these people, you can come and talk to me directly at any time, okay? I want to make sure that you know that you are fully supported, whether that be violent and sexual assault support, God forbid, and I hope not, but it is there if we need to. Diversity and inclusion. We have a whole section just saying, welcome to the ANU, you are welcome, no matter where you're from, no matter your background. The medical services, yeah, we do have a GP service here on campus. It's great, but it is heavily subscribed. That is a bit of a problem sometimes because of the wait times, but we also have many walk-in clinics around Canberra as well. And I guess just to say, I'm sure most of you are aware of this, but in Australia, unlike some of the countries you come from, we don't use our hospitals for walk-ins, yeah? So it's really important that you understand our GPs are separate from our hospital system. So if you go to a hospital waiting room and say you've got period cramp, you're going to be there in 4 days' time, still waiting, yeah? Because there's no appointments. They just triage. So every time something more important comes in, you go to the back of the line. So yeah, so if it's not a life-threatening emergency or it's not a really thing you need something urgent, you don't go to the hospital. All right, really important to understand that. Counselling, we have a great counselling setup at the ANU. We have our ANU psychologists, and they are fabulous, as well as our support people. Mental health support and spiritual support. So we've got the whole lot covered, I think. Access and inclusion, this is important. If you have an ongoing disability, a medical condition that includes mental illness, or you're a carer, or you have some other reason, we have a whole team called Access and Inclusion that will be able to assist you. So what happens is they will ask you to go and see a mental health, say it's a mental health issue, or you get anxious, it might be anxiety, or you might have a permanent disability. You might not be able to write with your right hand because you've had a car accident. Whatever it might be, they will give you a medical plan that you go and see a GP or a psychologist or a counsellor. That gets filled in. You go back to Access and Inclusion and they will give you an education access plan. So what that means is then you can apply for an extension for any task, and you will get 5 days or 7 days, 5 working days, no questions asked. Okay, so it means you have to stop telling your story. You just put the EAP in. The EAP doesn't tell us why you have it. That's all confidential. It just tells us what we have to do. So we have to give you a week's extension. Maybe because of your anxiety, you need more time in an exam. So a normal person might get an hour to do that exam. A well person, someone with some mental health or anxiety, might get an hour and 20 minutes. You might need rest times during exams because maybe that right hand problem means you can only write for 20 minutes. So if that's the case, it would say 20 minutes writing, 20 minutes rest time, then 20 minutes writing, the length of your exam might go from 1 hour to 3. Okay, so there's lots and lots of supports in place through those EAPs. So it's really important that you understand that, but it's not for short-term things. Short-term things, you just apply for an extension. It's a one-off, okay? Counselling, yep, we've talked about counselling, so that's fine. But yeah, I guess just adding to the counselling service, we all acknowledge that coming to Australia or coming to a foreign country anywhere is really, really stressful. I did a lot of travel for work and lived in Vietnam teaching English for a while, and I thought I was okay, had a big girl and could cope, and I got really homesick. So I understand, and it's really important that you acknowledge it. So it could be headaches, it could be sleep disturbance, it could be your tummy getting used to the food. In my previous role, I looked after international students in high schools, and a lot of my boys from China would come and drink milk because the milk is different in Australia to China. So they would come and they would drink 4 litres of milk a day, and the homestay would ring me and go, oh my God, 4 litres. And all of a sudden, all these boys had constipation or diarrhoea, opposite. One or the other. So they're all going to the hospital, they're all sick, they're all at the doctors, they're all in emergency. I'm saying this is not an emergency, stop drinking so much milk. So yeah, sometimes it's the food Sometimes it's just because, you're in a new country and it'll come out in a different way. But the counsellors are there to help you with that. They'll help you if you're homesick, if you've got problems with your academics because you feel that your English might not be strong enough. I don't know, you might even break up with your boyfriend, you might lose a grandparent when you're at home. There's lots of reasons. Financial pressure, any of those things, our counselling services can help you, okay? And the most important thing is to ask for help. Academic support, we have our Academic Skills Centre that's across the university that do all sorts of things like how to write an essay, how to speak, how to do public speaking, conversation groups. But as we talked about in our last session, we also have our own college service that we call PAL, and that is PAL Assisted Learning. So when you go onto the ANU College of Law website, there is a Current Students tab. You need to click on that and you need to click on your program, okay? And it will tell you all of this information. And PAL is where our older students assist our first year students. So it could be someone from fourth year who is helping you do your first year courses. And this is invaluable because there's nothing better than having a student help you, trust me, because they see it from the other side. So it's really important. And that's in addition to the ANU services as well. There's lots of academic skills support available. Support and Wellbeing, as I said, our website, if you go under current students, in addition to, there'll be an LLB tile, a JD tile, an LLM tile. Then there's also one that says Forms, Policies and Procedures. That's a really good idea to have a look through that because there's some stuff in there that you'll find will be there to support you. And then there is its own support tile that you can click on. Okay, and the other thing, oh good, Labottie's up. That's great. No, that's what I wanted. I was just going to wing it because I forgot this was here. If you do come from another country, which obviously you all do, English obviously may not be your first language. If it's not, you can apply what we call LLB. So it's language background other than English. That's what it stands for. And when you go through that LLB, it's actually under Forms and Policies and it's called Time Adjustments. So you can click on that or you can write to us if you can't find it. And what that'll mean is you can use a dictionary. That's if our exams come back face to face. At this stage they're online, so there's no problem with that. You can also have some extra time through that, okay? You can apply for some extra time for your exams, for your quizzes, for other things that have a time on it. You can't apply for extra time for your essay because a research essay will always have 4 or 5 weeks for you to do it, but it's things that have a time. So if it's a 1 hour take-home test, you might get 1 hour and 20 minutes. Okay, so it's worth keeping that in mind because you're all entitled to it, so you should use it. You should get that extra time, all right? And if you're not sure, just write an email to us and say, Nicole, what were you talking about that extra time thing? And we can link you back to what you need to do. Okay. So yeah, this is it. This is how you fit. If you're educated in a country where English is not the first language, if you were born outside Australia and arrived 10 years, well, you've all arrived within the last 10 years, or you were born in Australia and you're living overseas where you're not using language, that one obviously doesn't apply to any of you. You must be in your first 12 months of enrolment, so you only get this for the first year, so you may as well use it up. And you must be able to demonstrate, linguistic and cultural that you need more time to do things conducted in English. So basically, just because of where you're born, that covers you. You don't need to prove anything else. So your application has to be pretty quick. This is the tricky bit. It closes at the end of week 2, so you've got to do this quickly. And we will apply that for you for your tasks. That is the link to the application, but as I said, it is under Forms and Policies on our current law students tile. You click on it and find Time Adjustments. All right, that's what you're looking for, the word Time Adjustments. And you can always Google it, Time Adjustments ANU College of Law, and it'll come up. Okay. All right, a few last tips, and this is my experience many, many years dealing with international students and being one myself. Okay, the first one, you need to add that local address and your emergency contact details to ISIS. Emergency contacts are also really important because then if you were, say, from Turkey right now, we would be at this very moment, reaching out to support you in every way we can. We would be offering you extra time. We would be offering you everything. So I need to know where you're from, okay? Because if something happens in your home country and someone's trying to contact you urgently, I need that stuff to be up to date. It's really, really important. I need you to have a mobile phone, please. And also, I need you to let your mum and dad know you've arrived safely, and hopefully you've all done that, no matter how old you are. Yeah, the amount of phone calls I used to get from distressed parents. Are they there? Are they okay? So yeah, hopefully you've all done that. Open a bank account. Really important that you have an Australian bank account because you will all want to work at some point, I'm assuming. So get that Australian bank account organised. A TFN or a tax file number if you plan to work is an imperative. You can't work here without it, and the application process is pretty straightforward, but like all things in Australia, you know, a 1-page form becomes a 20-page form, but it's not too bad. It's pretty straightforward. Again, we can help you with that if you get stuck. You need to understand your program requirements. How many of you have had a look at programs and courses on the website? Yeah, good. Really important, because besides our own ANU Law College website, programs and courses is really the only other one you need to start with. So when you go into programs and courses, again, you can just Google LLB ANU and it will bring it up. Okay, but it's really, really important that you understand your program orders. So in this case, we might, if Tim can get through while I'm talking, it's been a bit temperamental. Oh, straight away today, there you go. You can see up in the top corner that academic year of 2023. That's the one to keep an eye on, because these are your program orders. So someone who started in 2016 will have to put 2016 in the top, and theirs would look really different to yours. All right, so it's really important that you do keep that on your year that you commence, because these are your rules. So the first page just gives you a bit of an overview. Second page is how you get in, but you don't need to know that, you're already in. And the fees obviously are there. The study tab's probably the most important. These are what we call your program orders. So this is for the Bachelor of Laws. There's obviously one for the Juris Doctor, for the Master of Laws as well. So it just tells you basically what you need to do. You need to complete all of these to get the program. If you're an exchange student, you don't have to complete all of these, obviously. You complete what you're studying this semester. And then under the first year advice, that gives you your actual plan for year one. That will tell you exactly, no, it doesn't anymore. That's right, we fixed that now. We have that on our website. So it doesn't give it anymore. So yeah, normally it used to give it, but it gives it on our website. So it's all there. So basically it'll tell you your first year courses. So on our own website, just while Tim has got access, let's have a look at the Masters on the College of Law one instead on our...
Glad it's working now.
Yep. Yeah. If we have a look at the website, I can give you a little quick overview. Yeah, go there. That's fine. We'll just have to click on this current student tab when we get in. Yeah, just click current students from there. Yep. So this is what I was talking about. If you have a look at the current students page, you can see we have the Student and Education Support Services, we have Support and Wellbeing. So Student and Education Support is us. So if you click on that first tile, that'll just take you to a student appointment page, when we're open, how to find us, and you can actually make, that's the assessment, extension, deferment options. You can go through there and you can book an appointment with us there. Either come into the counter or you can book it. The other tiles are done by your program. So if we just go... Thanks, Tim, while it's working so quickly. Support and Wellbeing, we've talked about. Forms, policies and procedures. Actually, we go in there and I'll show you where the Labody form is. So if we head down on that form, policy and procedure, you will see a time adjustment or time... Should be under T. It's not going to be because I say it is. Yes, there it is. Time adjustments for assessments. If you click on that and then you have a look at the first one and click on assessment, yep. It'll tell you there the language backgrounds other than English. It'll go through everything I've just explained. And then down the bottom will be an apply here. And you just click on that, you put your application in and we will do all the work and give you the extra time. Okay, so it's as simple as that. So that's how it works. And you'll find a lot of these forms on our website, but if you go under current students, you'll find everything you need to know. Thank you, Tim. All right. Yep, you can find all of your study plans, your courses off it. And I guess the other thing that's good to show you while we're here is our course search. So course search is the fourth tile down on the first one on the second line. And it actually tells you everything that you can study in any given semester. So in this one, let's put in the Masters program, seeing we've got so many here. So we'll go to our LLM, what we call it. And we can see here, all of our Masters courses come up. So from there, you can see the study mode on the bottom right-hand corner will tell you it's online. So that one there is an online course. If you click on the more information, it'll tell you if you need to buy any textbooks, basically, and a bit more information. So you can see there, no textbooks. And you can also see there when you would be expecting to graduate. So if you're in your final semester and you do this course, you can be out of here in July. That's what that tells you. Okay, so yeah, and it also takes you back to programs and courses. So you can go online or you can go on campus, yep, or some that offer both. So yeah, the on-campus ones, there you go. So conflict of laws, being run by an external Kieran Panda with a lot of experience. Information technology law. So there's a list there of the ones you can do on campus, or you can go back and click online, or both. Okay?
And it's good to filter through, isn't it, because of your 1/3.
Yeah, just to keep an eye on your 1/3 thing. Yep.
More than 3, of course.
Yep.
In your masters, I'm talking.
Yep. Thanks, Tim. And back to the presentation, yeah.
Probably got time. Anything else?
No, that's probably it, I think.
Okay, welcome. So I'm here asked to speak to you about tips as an international student, tips that might be helpful to you as an international student. Maybe I should start by saying that I think being an international student is the best way of being a university student, right? And that is the ideal university student ought to be an international student for the following reason. I think for university, one should move away from home as far as possible. Like the furthest place you can find from where your home is, that's the place that you should go. Right? So staying at home and going to university, first it doesn't feel like university, but more importantly, you don't get the process of growth and development and maturity that a university education is supposed to provide you with. Right, so moving to a different country, living in a different environment, learning a different culture is part of growing up. And you only get that if you move, and ideally you move country, go to a different place. That's the process of growth. So I think that for however long you are here, maybe 4 to 5 years if you're an LLB, 1 year if you're an LLM, take this as an opportunity to discover yourself and to see the world. Right? Looking back at my own growth, my period of most intense growth and knowing what I want to do and finding my own feet in the world was when I was an international student, right? Living overseas, and I've only ever been an international student, so I did my LLB here, my LLM in the States, and my PhD in the UK, all as an international student. So I think there is something really valuable in being an international student. So my advice is to see the world, to learn more about Australia, to discover Australian culture, and how do you do that? Let me give you 2 suggestions, and then you can ask me any other questions that you want. First is because you are studying law, understanding Australian politics is really important. Like really important, right? So if you are studying law, most of your courses would be incomprehensible without a basic understanding of Australian politics. So Australian public law, Commonwealth constitutional law, administrative law, all this require knowledge of Australian politics, ideally Australian current affairs. So here is a very important tip, and I strongly suggest you do that. While you are in your dorm room, if you are living on campus, while you are in your tiny dorm room, right? Turn on ABC News 24. It's available on the website, right? So just open your web browser, Google ABC News 24. It's on 24 hours a day. Just leave it on in the background while you pack your bags, while you clean your room, while you laze around the room doing nothing. Right, just let ABC News 24 play in the background. It has 2 benefits. First, for those of you who are learning English, it will really improve your English. Just let it play in the background. It improves your listening, comprehension, right? Because these are newscasters that tend to speak clearly. So first, it will improve your English. And more importantly, it keeps you updated about current affairs, Australian current affairs, right? It introduces you to Australian politics, who the Australian Prime Minister is, who the opposition leader is. They sometimes even have clips of parliamentary debates, which are usually pretty fun. All right, so you get a sense of how politics occur in Australia. So keep ABC News 24 running in the background for at least an hour a day. If you are not able to do that, there's ABC News website. So in the morning, while you are in the toilet, right, just read ABC News 24. Or while you're waiting for your bus, or while you are in the bus, while you're waiting for class to start, instead of watching TikTok on your phone, you just go into ABC News 24's website and just browse through the headlines, right? So I think that is a very good thing to do, especially for short time, waiting for buses, in the bus, waiting for class to start, in the restaurant, waiting for the food to come, right? That just is a good way to expose yourself to Australian politics. Okay, that's one tip. I only have 2 tips. The second tip, identify a hobby or an interest that you already have. If you don't have any hobby or any interest, find one hobby or one interest and join at least one student club. Right? You don't have to join a lot. It might be intimidating, it might be too much, not enough time, too many things to do, but join at least one student club. Student club is a way to meet people. You seldom meet people in classes, right? At least when I was a student. In classes, students come to class, listen to the lecture, get bored and sleepy, and then leave. Right? You don't usually make friends in class because people come to class and then they leave immediately when class ends. Student clubs is when you meet other students, you meet people from different countries, including Australia. You meet people from different faculties, studying different things, different disciplines across different degree programs. But you have a common interest, right? So let's say you joined, I don't know, a fencing club. All of you like fencing. So you have, or a chess club or salsa class or a tango club. All of you love tango in the club. So there's something in common that bring the members of the club together, but then it is more social. You get to socialize, get to meet other people, and while enjoying an activity. So my second advice is to find an activity or a hobby that you like. If you don't have any, identify one, new sports or new skill that you want to learn, and join a student club. That's all I have to say. Any questions that you have for me? I also teach, here some of you may have enrolled in my courses. Is anyone doing common law reasoning this semester 1? Okay, so I'll see you 2. Okay, 2 of you. How about law and society in Southeast Asia? So you see a lot of me.
It's not too late to enroll.
This is not an advertisement. This is not an advertisement. Okay, anyway, do you have any questions about the law school, about the teaching of law from a lecturer's perspective? I could answer any and all questions. Yeah?
I have a question about reading. So we have many things to read. The article that the teachers give us, but when I'm reading these things, the author always cite many cases, but they cite cases to develop, to illustrate the first opinion in the past, and then cite the second cases to illustrate a new opinion, so which make me really confused, because when I read the first time, I can't totally understand what the author wants to express. So I need to read the full article and to understand it, which takes a long time. Is there any strategy or technique to improve this situation?
Yeah, so my advice for reading is that you read it once before the class, okay? You don't need to understand the whole article or the whole case when you read it before the class, right? You just have to get a rough idea what the case or the article is about. Attend the class, and then read it again after class. Right, so when you read it again after class, you should be able to understand it better. Yeah, so read it once before class just to get a rough idea, attend the class, and then read it again closely after class. Not only should you be able to understand the case or the article better on your second reading after class, you will then know what to focus on, which part of the case or which part of the article to focus on. You focus on the part of the case or the article that the lecturer focuses on. Yeah, does that make sense? So you look at what the lecturer focuses on, and you focus on the same parts. So unlike high school, if you're coming from high school, for example, especially high school, in high school, the teacher who teaches you in the classroom does not set the exam question and does not mark the exam paper. Right? So in a standard high school teaching method, the person who teaches you is different from the person who sets the exam question, is different from the person who marks the exam paper. At this law school, the person who teaches you, let's say me, I'm also the one who writes the exam question, and I'm also the one who marks the exam paper. So what I focus on is a good prediction of what will come up in the exam. Because what your high school teacher focuses on might actually be a poor indicator of what will come up in the exam, because the high school teacher does not write the exam question. And what the high school teacher focuses on might be a poor indicator of what to look for in the exam question, because the high school teacher doesn't mark the exam question. Whereas your lecturer writes the exam and marks the exam paper, so if whatever the lecturer focuses on gives you a pretty good indicator of what is important in the course. So on second reading, if you read after the class, you can then focus on what the lecturer has focused on in class. And does that answer your question?
Well, I still have a further question.
Yeah.
Because we have 4 courses in one semester, and each course has many things to read.
Right.
So maybe how can we speed up on the reading? So make sure that we can follow up every classes.
Yeah. So first you do the readings for my class first. Right? That is the first thing you do. Now after you have done the reading for my class, how do you quickly read the other materials, right? So I think pre-class reading, you can read fairly quickly. Because pre-class reading, there you are not really needing to understand every sentence, right? You just want to get a big picture. Post-class reading, you need to slow down, take more time to read it closely. That's when you can, to save time, I suppose, you can be strategic in looking at the cases that the lecturers spent. So let's say, for example, for that class, the lecturer prescribed 5 cases. The lecturer, for 1 hour, the lecturer spent 45 minutes on one case, on case A, and only 15 minutes on case B, C, D, and E. Which is the most important case that you spend most of your time reading? Case A, right? Case A, because the lecturer has spent 45 minutes on case A and only 15 minutes on case B, C, D, and E, so you make sure you really understand case A and you read it closely. Case B to E, you still have to know it, but you don't have to read them as closely as you do case A. So there's one strategic way of dealing with that. Does that answer your question? Yeah, okay. Great. Anything else? Done. I've just gotten started. I'm like on a roll here. Okay, Nicole, do you have any questions for me?
No, Josh, I don't. I just want to thank you, as always. And yeah, all jokes aside, Josh is a great support here at the college for our international students, for all our students. But yeah, he does have a soft spot for international students. So if you do have any questions, I'm sure Josh would be only too willing to answer them.
And I will be singing.
Oh, we do have another one.
For me or for Nicole?
No, for you.
Okay.
I guess this is a generic question for us students to ask to a lecturer. Like, we're in the middle of O week right now. Our courses will begin next week, and for courses that clearly have on the program and courses website a prescribed reading, it's very clear what to read ahead of time. But there are many courses that like this, that they say, oh, there's no prescribed reading up until that point. But that's what it looks like on the website. We don't know what it's like on the ground. As a student, and from the perspective of a lecturer, is it normal and completely okay for a student to email a lecturer ahead of time, ask, is there any supplementary reading prior to a course that I can look at, even if it's not on the website of the course itself?
Yeah, you would be a very, very enthusiastic student. I mean, you can. Most students, right, don't look at the course website until week 1, right? Speaking from my own experience, sometimes I have not finalized my readings until week 1 as well, until when Elaine bugged me and said, Josh, where are the readings? Then I get the readings in order. But you can, if you are very enthusiastic to get started earlier, you can most certainly email the lecturer and say, well, can I get the reading list in advance? If the lecturer has already had, there's no guarantee the lecturer actually has the reading list. Sometimes I don't have the reading list until like an hour before class. But if the lecturer has the reading list, the lecturer will more than happy to give you the reading list. But if you have not done that, don't worry, because most students will not even turn their mind to readings until week 1, and now it's O week. So O week is meant for you to have fun, relax, party, right?
I guess the other thing before you email your lecturer, something that Judy said in the other session, Judy takes our first year Foundations of Australian Law course. Really important though that you don't email your lecturer until you've looked on the Wattle site, yeah? So you do a thorough look on the Wattle site first, you read the class summary first. If you still can't find the information, knock yourselves out and email your lecturer. But there's nothing more annoying than 500 first year students emailing the convener and saying, when's my required reading list? And there it is, posted front and centre on the Wattle page. So a bit of advice so you don't get a cranky email back again, check the Wattle site. Check the Wattle site, okay, first.
And actually for my courses, I've just uploaded the readings yesterday afternoon.
Yesterday afternoon, Josh?
Yesterday afternoon, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's great. That's still like 5 days.
Yesterday afternoon, I called Elaine yesterday morning. I looked at the Wattle site for the first time. I said, Elaine, help! My Wattle site.
My Wattle site is empty. Well, Josh, stuff uploaded, says Elaine. So yes, the Wattle site is the go-to. All right, are there any further questions? Not that you can't ask.
And I will be meeting them for some session that you have wrote me in for.
Yeah, because our international immersion program that hopefully you've all heard about, I hope so, Tim has emailed each and every one of you, and if you haven't had that email, then we need to know, so come and tell us outside. But we have an international orientation program, it is called, and that kicks off, we see you once a week. That's what we're supposed to do with that extra 15 minutes, I've just remembered. We were supposed to talk to you about this earlier, but that kicks off next week. Tim? Yes? International Orientation Program kicks off next week. Well, I've got some blank faces, so maybe we need them to email us to tell us they're not, haven't got the invitations.
So have you checked your ANU email? Right, that's where I sent it to. So my initial communications went to your private email as well, to check your ANU email, to sign up and hit the registration link I've sent you for the 24th of February.
Yes, the 24th of February is the first one, and you're heading off to
Old
Parliament House with our fabulous LLB JD Director, Associate Professor Ron Levy, who is an expert in public law. So you don't want to miss that. And then along the way, we've got High Court with our actual head of school, Professor James Stelios, who is going to take you through the High Court, and Josh is down for a couple of the sessions along the way.
Only one.
Oh, one session.
I mean, only one.
One session. So Josh is doing one of the college sessions because we've got the ADE, Associate Professor Wayne Morgan is going to speak to you a little bit about exam preparation. And then Josh is going to speak about, what are you doing?
Legal research.
Legal research.
Apparently, supposedly.
Yeah.
Josh will team up with the library as well to talk about
legal research.
And referencing. Yeah.
So we've got a whole lot of stuff for you at college on the off weeks, and then every second or third week or so we'll take you out to see the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court one's going to be amazing because you're going to have a visiting Supreme Court judge do that. So that's going to be one not to be missed. And if the domestic students find out about that, we're in big trouble. So that just happened that way because that judge happens to be in Canberra on that day. Total coincidence. So our Associate Professor Heather Roberts will take you there, and then when you get there, Heather will team up with this amazing judge. So that one's not to be missed either.
But the one next Friday, the first one, we need you to gather in the law foyer at 9:20 in the morning next Friday the 24th. Our law foyer is on the other side, building 5.
Yeah, near the cafe.
Cafe. That's called the law foyer.
Near the library cafe.
So we'll meet you in there around 9:20 and we'll get the bus at 9:30.
And if you haven't had the invitations, please see Tim now because we're just about to have some morning tea.
I've got my laptop, I can look into it.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, come downstairs and join us and grab some